The event of the flood. The verb asa, make, which refers to Noah's actions, is also a keyword in the Genesis creation account. Genesis 1 verse 7, 16, 25, 26, and 31, and Genesis 2 verse 2. Noah's acts of obedience to God are like God's acts of creation. What we can take from this link is that the flood is not just about God punishing humanity, but about God saving us as well. When everything was ready, the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth, I can see that you alone are righteous. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of each animal I have approved for eating and for sacrifice, and take 1 pair of each of the others. Also take 7 pairs of every kind of bird. There must be a male and a female in each pair to ensure that all life will survive on the earth after the flood. 7 days from now I will make the rains pour down on the earth, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights, until I have wiped from the earth all the living things I have created." So Noah did everything as the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood covered the earth. He went on board the boat to escape the flood, he and his wife and his sons and their wives. With them were all the various kinds of animals, those approved for eating, and for sacrifice, and those that were not, along with all the birds and the small animals that scurry along the ground. They entered the boat in pairs, male and female, just as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood came and covered the earth. When Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, all the underground waters erupted from the earth, and the rain fell in mighty torrents from the sky. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. That very day Noah had gone into the boat with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, large and small, along with birds of every kind. 2 by 2 they came into the boat, representing every living thing that breathes. A male and female of each kind entered, just as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord closed the door behind them. For 40 days the floodwaters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the waters rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, rising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living things on earth died: birds, domestic animals, wild animals, small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the people. Everything that breathed and lived on dry land died. God wiped out every living thing on the earth: people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and the birds of the sky. All were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those with him in the boat, and the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days. Genesis 7. Why does the description of the flood remind us of the creation account? What lessons can we learn from the parallels between the two events? An attentive reading of the text covering the flood reveals the use of many common words and expressions with the creation story. 7. Genesis 7 verses 2, 3, 4, and 10. Compare with Genesis 2 verses 1 to 3. Male and female. Genesis 7 verses 2, 3, 9, and 16. Compare with Genesis 1 verse 27. Every kind of animal. Genesis 7 verse 14. Compare with Genesis 1 verses 11, 12, 21, 24, and 25. Wild animals, birds. Small animals that scurry along the ground. See Genesis 7 verses 8, 14, 21, and 23. Compare with Genesis 1 verses 24 and 25. And breath of life. Genesis 7 verses 15 and 22. Compare with Genesis 2 verse 7. The flood story reads, then, somewhat like the creation story. These echoes of the creation accounts help reveal that the God who creates is the same as the God who destroys. Deuteronomy 32 verse 39. But these echoes also convey a message of hope. The flood is designed to be a new creation, out of the waters, which leads to a new existence. The movement of waters shows that this event of creation is, in fact, reversing the act of creation in Genesis 1. In contrast to Genesis 1, which describes a separation of the waters above from the waters below, Genesis 1 verse 7, the flood involves their reunification as they explode beyond their borders, Genesis 7 verse 11. This process conveys a paradoxical message. God has to destroy what is before in order to allow for a new creation afterward. The creation of the new earth requires the destruction of the old one. The event of the flood prefigures the future salvation of the world at the end of time. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared. Revelation 21 verse 1, compare with Isaiah 65 verse 17. What in us needs to be destroyed in order to be created anew? The Bible record is in harmony with itself and with the teaching of nature. Of the first day employed in the work of creation is given the record, and evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. Genesis 1 verse 5. And the same in substance is said of each of the first 6 days of creation week. Each of these periods inspiration declares to have been a day consisting of evening and morning, like every other day since that time. In regard to the work of creation itself, the divine testimony is, "For when he spoke, the world began. It appeared at his command." Psalm 33 verse 9. Before the flood, the development of vegetable and animal life was immeasurably superior to that which has since been known. At the flood, the surface of the earth was broken up. Marked changes took place, and in the reformation of the earth's crust were preserved many evidences of the life previously existing. The vast forests buried in the earth at the time of the flood, and since changed to coal, form the extensive coal fields and yield the supplies of oil that minister to our comfort and convenience today. These things, as they are brought to light, are so many witnesses mutely testifying to the truth of the Word of God. God's love for the world was not manifest because he sent his Son, but because he loved the world, he sent his Son into the world that divinity clothed with humanity might touch humanity, while divinity lays hold of divinity. Though sin had produced a gulf between man and his God, a divine benevolence provided a plan to bridge that gulf. And what material did he use? A part of himself. The brightness of the Father's glory came to a world all seared and marred with the curse, and in his own divine character, in his own divine body, bridged the gulf. The windows of heaven were opened, and the showers of heavenly grace and healing streams came to our benighted world. There is need that much time be spent in secret prayer, in close communion with God. Thus only can victories be won. Eternal vigilance is the price of safety. The Lord's covenant is with his saints. Everyone is to discern his weak points of character and guard against them with vigor. Those who have been buried with Christ in baptism and been raised in the likeness of his resurrection have pledged themselves to live in newness of life. Since you have been raised to new life with Christ, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in the place of honor at God's right hand. Think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. For you died to this life, and your real life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, is revealed to the whole world, you will share in all his glory. Colossians 3 verses 1 to 4.